always jamming out to the tunes before the BS Friday show. What's happening, Mark Bare Naked Willie? How you doing today, brother?
Dave Cooper, we got a great show this BS Friday Live, brother.
Man, every Friday seems to just get better and better. The information that's out there is getting better and better. And we're back in Pittsburgh, man, and we're ready to show you some BS Fridays from around Pittsburgh, too, in the near future, too. But outside of that, where are you at today?
Well, I'm stuck. I think I just heard you say PGH. That was last week. Pretty Good House was last week, Dave.
Well, it is Pretty Good House. You're absolutely right. Last week was an amazing show, huh? They got a book. They're spreading the word. They're doing amazing things. Hopefully, we'll see PGH on all the diner mats that you see when you go to eat at a diner, right? That's where we need to start advertising all this passive house stuff.
It's one of my favorite ideas you had is to get the placemats going. We always talk about T-shirts, but I think the diner. It's time to dive back to the diner. I love that, Dave. So where can everyone see the show?
Oh, we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. So get your tweets on if you're out there. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, you're wrong. Go out there and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are watching, people are watching over 5,000 hours every 28 days, Mark. Can you imagine that? 5,000 hours every 28 days, people are consuming our content on YouTube. And that's just YouTube. That doesn't include LinkedIn and all the other stuff. So it's really a lot of fun.
If you're watching, close one eye so you can look at Dave. You're happy if you listen to my voice, but don't look at me.
Well, Mark, what, you got a tie on or something, man?
A tie? A tie? How about we do a change-o?
Oh, here we go. Man, look, it must be hot in Chicago. You're already taking off your clothes today.
There we go. We got to represent.
Ben, I see it. Who is it? Is it?
That's Rockwell with the Denmark team Sail GP logo. Boy, this thing screws me around. I just don't know which way to go with the beard.
I know the camera messaged you up. You got to go the opposite direction. Hey, but that's another one. We just had the Rockwell folks on a couple weeks ago as well, and that's what's really great about this. So if you're out there and you are watching us, one thing that we request of everybody that watches this show, that is for you to connect with each other. The whole idea of this show is for everybody to chat in the chat, but also ask questions. And if you have a question, to make it easier on us to find them, put a Q in front of that question just so we can see it. But again, tell us where you're from, connect with each other, chat. Mark, where are you attending?
So we have next week just the Midwest Building Science Symposium kickoff. Yeah. And the week after that is the FIAS show kickoff. So represent, y'all.
So, Mark, tell everybody, where is the FIAS show going to be this year?
Perfect. The FIAS show is in Chicago, October 25th through the 28th, FIASCon 2022. And the Midwest Building Science Symposium is in Kansas City. If you don't know where Kansas City is, look up Kansas, look up Missouri. And right where they come together is Kansas City, and that's September 14th and the 15th. Be there.
I love it. Are you going to be at both of those shows? To be determined?
Probably won't be at either show, Dave, but I will be promoting them just like you.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you loud and clear. All right, Mark. So what do we got going on today? We got a lot of fun happening. We got a great story to tell. We got a great person coming on. Why don't we hop into it here?
Yeah, I want to take myself out of the equation. Can we find someone else to do the intro?
You mean there might be somebody else here?
You tell me, man. You got the master controls.
Oh,
Jennifer, is anyone
look
out
at
there?
that. Anybody know this guy?
Luis, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to Canada, Luis. I know you were just flying around. I'm sure your arms are tired, but we're glad to have you on the show real quick. And can you tell everyone what you do and who you're going to intro today as a surprise?
Yeah, hop into it.
All right. So first of all, thank you guys, for the invitation. It was a pleasure, hearing from you, Marquez. I was away for the last month visiting family. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Luis Bezerra. I'm a senior manager at Passive House Canada, and I'm here to introduce to you all, to a very kind, amazing, pioneer person, proactive, and she's always willing to help everyone and the planet besides her province and our country. Her name is Lorrie Rand. Lorrie Rand is the co-founder of Habitat Studio, the leading authority on sustainable home renovations in Nova Scotia, and also the co-director of ReCover Initiative, a non-for-profit plan to implement deep energy retrofits at scale across Nova Scotia and Canada. Lorrie's committed to promoting high performance buildings to clients and colleagues. Believe she does that all the time. She serves on the board of directors of Passive Buildings Canada and hosts the Passivists, a group of designers and builders working on passive house projects in Nova Scotia. Lorrie has 20 years of experience on leading outstanding residential design projects and consulting on larger projects. Lorrie is a certified passive house designer and tradesperson, and also has a Bachelor of Environmental Design Studies from Dalhousie School of Architects. On her time off, she spends in her garden and with her dog in a park. Besides all that, she's also one of instructors, one of the best instructors and most proactive instructors at Passive House Canada. So, with all the pleasure, I wish I know you're going to have a great time with Lorrie, and thank you very much for the invitation, Lorrie. Great to see you,
Hey,
and
Louise.
take it on.
I love
Wow,
it.
you made me sound really good.
I
Where did
I
you
was
dig all that
talking
up?
absolutely, Luis. It was a great intro, Lori. We wanted to surprise you, right,
Yeah.
with it, and so everyone, welcome to Nova Scotia, and this is our good friend Lori Rand.
Hey there. Yeah,
Hey,
Louise. Yeah, I haven't seen you in ages.
Yes, ma'am. I was away, but now I'm back, and I'll be poking you in the next few weeks. Don't worry,
Okay,
as I normally do.
I'm
well,
ready.
Well, we love this. That was a great introduction, Louise. Just so you know that in the top five, it was well said, well done, and the timing of it was perfect. That must be the Canadian in you or something, being very precise on these things. I don't know, and I'm also glad that Canada got their internet fixed. It looks like that's working better these days as well. So. Let's hop into this, Lori and Louise. Thank you so much for tuning in, and you can hang out if you want. We'll bring you back in at the end of the show, or you can just hang out. We don't care. But Lori, this show is all about what you're up to. So I'm going to ask you right now. We want to know everything about you from the moment you were born to this very moment in time. Do not leave out any of the good stuff from the hospital, or we will call your mother. Or a family member, or a friend, but it will be somebody that will embarrass you to no end just for fun on our show. So you better not leave anything off the table. The floor is yours.
All right. Well, I think that I don't remember back this far, but my mom would tell you that she's got actually like audio cassette recording of me doing a walkthrough of the house I was designing at the time. And I have not listened to that yet, but that was when I was around 8 that I went through my first house designing spell, and it never really went away. And so after I left high school, I did a couple of years in a Bachelor of Science in Physics, and then applied to architecture school thinking I probably wouldn't get in. But I really I was really lucky and got into architecture school on the first try. So that was way back in the early 90s. And I did the architecture program, always knowing that my heart was in residential, so wanting to design homes. And then a few years into kind of being a mom and designing, doing work on the fly from my home, I started collaborating with Judy Obersi, who was my classmate at architecture school. And we sort of helped each other out informally, and eventually got a studio space. And after a few years, we were like, this is actually a company. And that's literally the really organic way that Habit Studio started, was us just moms helping each other out. And then in around 2013, a client reached out to me and said they really wanted to work with me, and they wanted me to design them a passive house. And in Nova Scotia, passive solar is a really big thing. It has been for a long time. And I sort of thought, oh, it's like passive solar, not like a little bit cockily. And I was like, sure, I'll design you a passive house. And then when I learned that passive house was essentially designing a house with physics, I was so in my element. It was just amazing combination of the physics, which I really liked physics. I just didn't like doing it all day, every day. It was a little bit not creative enough for me. Yeah, so that's where the passive house came in, and we did a couple of passive houses, and we had this amazing thing happen that in our second passive house was one with a really experienced builder on Prince Edward Island, so not in our province but PEI, and he it just like coincided with the city of Charlottetown doing their community action plan. And they wanted to know what a passive house cost and how much more it costs than a regular house. And that was a little bit, and they decided to use our project to do this economic case study. And what they found out was like kind of like depressing. It was like 18% more than a code compliant house of the same design. But that was kind of okay. Like it like gave us like a baseline. And so then our next passive house after that, we did for the exact, we worked really hard, and the builder worked really hard, and we did it for the same cost as every other regular house we did that year. And so that was, I mean, there was, you know, there was growing experience, and like, you know, like serious motivation to make sure that it wasn't like 20% more than code compliant. But when that happened and we did it for the same as a code house, we were like we just lost our appetite for ever doing a code compliant house again, because it doesn't make sense if you can do it for that.
Oh my gosh. So doing island work alone, right? Prince
Edward Island is a place where nothing like there's no actual products there that you can build a house with. Like everything is imported, so it's a very expensive place. So I mean, a little bit like to do it, like of course it had to be more expensive to do it there than it would be to do it most places, but it's still you know, it was disheartening to be like, oh my god, it's not much more, and I really want to encourage people to do it, but how? It felt like such an uphill battle. So you know, so we did that next one, and it was the same as every other house. And we were, you know, at that point, we were just kind of establishing Habit Studio as a company, and not just Lorrie and Judy on their dining tables. And so it, you know, as we were launching our company, we made the decision to tell people that we wouldn't do their code compliant new houses. We would only do passive house. And it was really, really scary. And time we were doing maybe about 75% renovations and only 25% new builds. We live in a very old city. Halifax, you know, is one of the oldest places in Canada. We have a lot of shitty old wooden houses, like lots and lots, like unlimited potential for us to do renovations.
There's a t-shirt right there, right? Yeah. We went passive house because we have a lot of shitty old houses that we gotta see.
Yeah. So let me, Lorrie, I have to ask you. So you were nervous about changing over to only building passive houses versus traditional code build houses, and I can imagine how this conversation went. Lorrie, I want you to build me a house. Well, I only build passive house. Well, what's passive house? Oh, well, you won't have any energy bills. It's going to be healthier. It's going to be safer. And they probably all went, no, I don't want that. Well, that makes no sense to me. No, we're doing it at the same price.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then we're like, well, we think we can do it at the same price, but it does depend a lot on the contractor. And the thing that happens, a lot of our new build projects are in pretty rural places. And so we come up against, there's only one guy who even builds houses there. And he's like, I'm not doing anything different than I've ever done before. So you can go fly a kite. So we definitely have had that scenario happen. But what's like I would say over the last 5 years, like before the pandemic, probably we were the ones saying the words passive house first. And over the course of at some point there was a shift, and now actually the clients say the words before we do. So they know that we're doing passive house. They know that's kind of like we don't really want to talk to them if that's not what they're going to build, and their motivation is there. And it is like a little bit, the climate urgency is really obvious here. There's nowhere in our province that's more than 60 kilometers. So about 40 miles from the ocean. The ocean's rising. You can see it rise. I've seen it rise in my lifetime. And so you have a little bit, I think, more of a sense of, and even the big storms are getting worse, lots of things, it's 30 degrees here. It's been all week, or 30 plus. And that would only happen at a few days of summer when I was a child, if it happened at all. So we see the evidence. We also have very expensive electricity compared to a lot of places in Canada. Our electricity it's 60% coal. So if you have a conscience, you want to reduce your you want to be better if I think that we have more people here who have the motivations than maybe other places. And it definitely, just over the last few years, as our company was getting established, it really became more obvious in our clients.
So, Lorrie, let's paint a few pictures. Based on that, I'm drawn to the subject of the Delta. So you're experiencing the 30-degree C right now. During the cold months, right? Paint a picture for folks in other provinces and states of what that Celsius is in the cold months, and how many months in Nova Scotia, Halifax, do we consider it cold months? Or times where we need to heat our buildings.
Yeah. Our heating season would be most people are probably starting to heat in October. It might be that's kind of stretched out some years, and it obviously it's a personal decision. So some people might not be in my house, we have a wood stove. So we don't turn our heat on maybe until November, but if we might have a fire the odd night to take the chill off. And I think a lot of people operate that way. Our power also goes out a lot. So a lot of people, even though we know we shouldn't have wood stoves, it's I got to boil water sometimes when the power's off. So there is quite a lot of the population would have that kind of as a supplemental.
So in the October is the entry point, and then when do we start seeing flowers?
It really changes year to year, but definitely you're still heating in April, and usually the first couple of weeks of May, a lot of people would still be heating too. And the pattern is shifting a little bit in terms of when it's cold and how it's cold. We've had later springs. It's we have almost no spring, and then kaboom, it's 30, and we're everybody's suddenly everybody kind of has this couple of weeks of what just happened to me, it's hot now.
So I wanted that picture so people understand that duration, right? And somehow
it's a long heating season.
Yeah, it's potentially half the year.
It's definitely half the year. And
Mark, it's July 22nd, and she just said it's been 30 degrees for the last couple of days.
Yeah.
30 degrees.
It's been 30 degrees all week, I think, for around a week. And it's actually a little cooler today, but it kind of rained overnight. It's going to be 30 by the time I go to bed. It's not quite 30.
Perfect.
But yeah, I'll tell you though, it's super humid. So my son took my dog swimming yesterday, and he's still wet.
That's great.
Your son or your dog?
Yeah, the dog is still wet.
So let's let's, now that we have that information and we know that Halifax has been there for a minute, right? We'll take a break from your experience with Habit and kind of look into the ReCover initiative, right? Because 1850.
Oh, so that you're mixing up. But so ReCover
Oh,
is, that's
of course
okay.
I am.
No, so ReCover is kind of a thing. Like it's like I literally accidentally started another company at the start of the pandemic with my friends Nick and Emma. So Nick is a high performance builder. He's a passive train builder. Emma is actually, she's like a climate activist advocate. She works on like policy. And it all sort of started because Nick was having angst about fancy houses he was building for like we have a lot of people who come here who will build a waterfront property. They're from like Germany or like they're not remotely local, and they'll come for 2 weeks a year, and they've got some like behemoth of a carbon intensive house that they just have so that they can come to the Atlantic Ocean for a couple of weeks a year.
And they
so
probably have good coffee, right?
Yeah,
Good tea and
exactly. So
good
he
scones.
he had just finished one of those and was just feeling like the world's biggest asshole. And he was like, "Lorrie, I'm having like a a crisis. What do I do?" And I said, retrofits. Like we've got to like figure out retrofits. Like every building in our country needs a retrofit if we're going to meet our climate targets. How do we do it? The only way to do it that has been demonstrated is energy sprong. And I'm like, if you want to do something, think about bringing energy sprong to Nova Scotia. And he laughed at me and was like we're having coffee. It was a couple of weeks before Christmas, and he was like, that's just the hardest thing in the world. I don't buy it. And then and I was like, okay, well, I tried. Like I genuinely felt like that was the solution. Like when I first heard about energy sprong, I was like, somebody has to do that here. We have just so many shitty buildings. And about 3 weeks later, he called me and he was like, I got us a meeting at Nova Scotia's Department of Energy and Mines, like the provincial body who's responsible for everything related to, energy use and the province. And he was like, we're going to ask them for money. And so he totally researched it, got on board and came back to me and was like, we're going to do this. And I was like, okay. And so basically,
I love Nick, by the way. That's
I love
great.
Nick too. He harassed the Department of Energy and Mines in Nova Scotia relentlessly until they gave us a pot of money to do a pilot feasibility study on a building. So we studied and literally it was totally it was the end of the budget year. They gave us a few $1,000s to shut up and make Nick shut up and go away. And this was March of 2020 that they gave us this money. They said, yeah, we're gonna give this money. So we were like, well, this is great timing because we're probably not going to have any work to do now that there's a pandemic. No, we're going to have all this free time. And
good planning, Nova Scotia. Good planning, Nova Scotia.
We were never so slammed in our lives. The industry slowed down for about a week, and then everybody was like, well, I'm not going to Mexico, so can you renovate my kitchen? And so,
yes, we can, Passive House style. Yes, we can.
In my company, if you come to me and say, I want you to renovate my kitchen, I tell you, go away unless you want me to renovate your whole house, and we're doing an energy thing. But a lot of people in the industry were doing that for sure. So we did our study. It took us about 6 weeks. And then in July, we had a webinar where we were just like, here's what we figured out about retrofits. Who wants to talk about it? And over 100 people from across Canada and a few Americans came to our webinar.
Can you name all 100 people, Lorrie?
I cannot, but a lot of them were municipal employees. And it's because municipalities are all working on their climate action plans or what they're going to do about the climate emergency. And it was also because we were being kind of supported on the project by Quest Canada, because that's where Emma worked at the time. And so Quest Canada is basically helps municipalities with their energy plans. They're a nonprofit and that's what they do, but they have this great municipal network. And so basically we were suddenly experts and suddenly on the radar of a whole bunch of municipalities.
You were suddenly bringing in the silos of expertise that you all have, and then the beacons of hope from Nick and Emma and yourself, and that's a culmination, is how I hear it.
It's really, I mean, I feel like between the three of us, we really do have kind of all the bases covered in the, like, how do we solve this problem? I mean, we need a lot more people though. Anybody wants to come work for us? Out there.
There you go.
We need
Here's
a
the
lot.
one.
Are
Here's
you
the
hiring?
one, Cads. Nova Scotia, the place where housing and jobs are ready for you.
So we are gearing up. Like, we're not like ready to hire people this minute, but what we are working on, like, we've kind of, since that first webinar, we've done a bunch of projects, all feasibility. Like, I'm like so sick of, like, I don't want to do another feasibility study. I want to do a demonstration project. I want to like build something. We're still, like, the first building that we studied was like kind of, it was an apartment building, but there's like a market rate. Like, there's not really any like easy way to access like money for that one. But then we just finished, like, we just did a project, again, feasibility, but I'm pretty confident it's going to go forward with Toronto Community Housing, where they asked us to look at townhouses and help them figure out the strategy for townhouses. Like, so they have a pretty aggressive goal of achieving 25% emissions reductions, and it's carbon emissions, not energy savings. So emissions reductions across their whole portfolio. They're the biggest affordable housing.
So the embodied carbon, carbon of the materials, not the APE
not
operation.
The embodied carbon, but the carbon emissions associated with their operations. So
so
it's
okay,
not
so
just energy
dual
savings, but like they need to get off of gas. They need to reduce their consumption dramatically.
So it's a feasibility study.
Yeah.
Drop the F. It's feasibility with a PH.
Yes. So we did that. So we just finished that project with them, where we came up with we did like energy modeling and a design, and we're like, okay, this is what we think you should do
For Toronto.
No, for this particular, we studied a particular block of townhouses. We literally picked the block because it had really shitty energy use. Like, it had a high EUI, but it also had a vacant unit. So we could go in.
So somewhere in Ontario.
It's in Toronto. It's in the city of Toronto.
Got it. So
and
huge marketplace. Huge.
I mean, Toronto Community Housing has nearly 800 townhouse blocks. So about 5,000 units of townhouse. And so what we did is we kind of like gave them a, like, here's our recommendations. And now they're talking about how they're going to like deploy that. Like, are they going to do a demonstration project and what that's going to look like? Right. So we're a little bit on like pause, standby, like to see where they go with it. But they have to hit their 25% emissions reduction target, or they've got a grant to do that. And if it's not, if they don't hit the target, it turns into a loan. So they owe millions, basically.
Yeah, I'm smiling, Lorrie, because there's certain things that I know that I can't talk about in Ontario, and all I could say with that is everyone creating the examples to open more doors for comfort in housing. While we can't always talk about them and we can't always be specific, those examples create greater opportunities. And good on you, Ontario, because we've all been in love with, I don't know, I can't speak for everyone, but I've been in love with step code. And if Ontario is creating those examples and other provinces are, those local steps forward with a PH create community transformation.
100%.
Yeah. So let's we're at 1:30 here. Let's show some of the ways people get a hold of you. I know it goes fast here. So I have ReCover. This is one of your sites here. So you know, we want everybody to know how they can get a hold of you, what is out there. So you can always go to I guess that's the Our Story page on recoverinitiative.ca for anybody that's interested in learning more or joining the team. As I heard, they are gearing up for that. So I want to make sure we get some of these things in here. And then also we have your Habit Studio. You okay if I share that as well?
100%, yeah.
All right, give me one second.
I have a complaint for LinkedIn. Whenever I type Habit, they always want to add other letters to habit.
Yes.
You don't have to tell me that I don't know how to spell, but I do know how to spell HABIT studio.
It wants
So
to make it habitat. It always makes it
I
want.
know,
Yeah, autocorrects the habitat.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
So here's your website up here, and obviously you can go in here. You can see projects by clicking on this, and I mean some of these are just absolutely beautiful. Look at that kitchen, Mark.
Don't talk
Well,
about
that's what.
kitchens. I don't want
Yeah, it
anyone
always
coming to
comes
me just
back,
for kitchens.
right? It does. But
Wow,
so so the outside of these, sometimes, I mean, let's face it, Lori,
that's beautiful.
sometimes when people hear passive house, they're like, all these weird, ugly buildings. And like all of us laugh because look at this thing. I mean,
Yeah.
good
So
night, nurse. This is incredible.
So these are lovely. That one is not, that one is maybe my last code compliant house, just to let you know. They're not all passive on our website.
Okay.
And when we decided to only do passive house, we were like passive house or sustainable retrofit, because the retrofit issue, like we don't want to just do code compliant, but like it costs so much more to do a retrofit. So we have not done a passive house retrofit yet, although our retrofits are like, we have done some net zero retrofits. Like, so we get the conservation and then we make it up with solar panels. Nova Scotia, even though it's like kind of, not everybody would think it, like we do get a lot of rain. We are actually pretty decently, suited to solar.
Got it.
But so all the pictures that Mark has been showing all week are our first passive house retrofit, which is going to be Habit Studio's office.
Oh, right.
And so we, like it's been a dream for a long time to do a passive retrofit. It's also been a long time goal to develop our own office so that we could kind of have our building be our calling card. And so we're doing it. So we bought, in the fall, we bought an 1850s house, a very old house, and work has started on it. We are like, it took the longest time to get a building permit, not to complain about Halifax, but building permits are slow as, you know what, right now?
Molasses. Molasses is the word.
And, but so the house is now it's gutted. So it started out, but let me tell you, it started out at 24 air changes per hour.
How many?
24.
Wow.
24. So that's not 0.24.
That's like a big hole. Like you might as well not have windows, right?
So it's uninsulated. The windows are wood windows. It actually has some original windows in it. So original sashes and frames, not necessarily. I mean, it's not original glass.
So people out there that are trying to understand what we're talking about, air changes per hour. This house that Lori's speaking of, we've all lived in old houses, right, where you feel the air conditioning coming through the outlets. They're not actually coming out of a vent or out of a heat pump or any of that stuff. So that's kind of what you're saying, right, Lorrie?
Oh yeah, wind is blowing through this house. There's no insulation. Often here,
I want to dial down another example. If you picture a traditional 2-car garage that has two separate doors and an entry door, 24 air exchanges is opening one garage door and the entry door. That's 24 air exchanges space wise. So
that's crazy.
Pretty crazy.
There was a lady living in this house.
Yeah. She probably has the cleanest lungs on the planet.
I don't know. I don't think so. It wasn't.
I said probably.
Yeah. No.
So it's funny you said it has the original sashes.
Yeah.
I used to do a program based on primarily 1800s and early 1900s that was called "Don't Trash That Sash."
Right.
And because they're beautiful, right? That's probably a wicked awesome fir, spruce. I'm not exactly sure, but
I think everything in the house is Douglas fir.
Douglas fir.
Yeah.
My favorite.
Like the timbers, like everything that, like the original structure, like it's a, trees that were standing like at least, I mean, it's 1850s, so it's 170 years old. The trees would have been at least 100 years old when they like put them in the house. So,
Right, at least.
yeah.
And talk about local, right? I mean, like those trees are there.
Yeah.
Whew.
So,
So
yeah.
that's going to be your office.
Yeah,
which
so
is,
we're just starting. Like we've got it
right.
gutted. We're just starting to fur it out. So we can't, you know, so
fur it out.
the logical thing to do, PH, if you the logical thing to do on a passive house retrofit is to wrap the outside, and it's impossible on this house. It's like it has one wall as a party wall, it has two walls on the lot line, so we could only actually make the outside wall thicker on the back wall. So it's an interior retrofit, and you know, that makes it a fair bit more complex on the part of builders.
And there's discovery involved because
Oh
of
my
the
goodness,
attachment.
we found some, like, I mean, it's just amazing seeing like everything is mortise and tenon. So there's like the wall studs are mortise and tenon to get into the beams above. There's some really interesting joinery in the floor structure. Like we've been just like complete nerds about taking pictures of.
Dave, imagine your wall and joist being connected like awesome furniture, but it's structure.
Yeah.
And it's wicked hard for, well, first not so hard, but wicked strong for being mortise and tenon together. Like, I mean, it's funny because I know that this example piece is going to lead to more projects like that. But I'm salivating because I'm hoping that there's a building that has the mortise and tenon that can be sweater detailed so that the mortise and tenon stays as the exposed finish. You have to cover it up because you need to put the the undershirts on rather than the sweater.
We're actually hoping, so because we're changing it into a commercial usage, I mean, like it's not like, we're not doing anything dangerous, of course, but the code says that we have to fire protect our structure. We're trying really hard to expose the ceilings in a couple of places where we can see some of the beams and some of the joinery just as a nod to, I mean, we might cover it up and rip it down again, or like I know there's like products you can paint on.
This is not recorded. It's okay, Lorrie.
Whatever. There's stuff like there's products we can paint on that will be fire protected, but they're like, yeah, but you got to reapply them every 5 years. How do we know you're going to do that?
So let me ask you this, and then we're going to bring Louise on. We're at 40 after the hour. So, but my question is this, right? So the old house that you're working on, right, is a retrofit. We didn't really dive into it too deep, like Energy Sprung, right? They're coming up with these systems, and what you're looking to do is come up with a system as you retrofit this home for a passive house. Am I understanding that right?
No, so the ReCover side of things, this is like the complete opposite of it. This is like why you can't do a custom retrofit on every building. It's just like so incredibly laborious, both in terms of the design and in terms of the workmanship. So we're doing this because we actually, I mean, we feel like it's our responsibility to put our money where our mouth is. And if we're telling people they need to do passive house and we're like, kind of sitting in an ordinary building, it's not as powerful a statement. We're also doing it to demonstrate it. So we're actually documenting it. We're doing a YouTube series. We are, once we're all done, we're going to release the YouTube series. It'll just be like 3 or 4 minute like episodes. I don't know how many there will be.
1,000, maybe 2,000.
We have a few product sponsors. So like Vata Windows that's where we're getting our windows, and they're partnering, and a few of our other suppliers, our cellulose installer or supplier rather, and a few other products. We really want to show people what it takes to do it. And I want to like make it look easier. Like I do feel like a lot of times we get super nerdy about passive house and we just like go on and on about all of the hard parts of it, and we don't make it look easy to a new person. And so the goal of doing a YouTube series is to demonstrate, so that it's like, we'll maybe use it a little bit for marketing to clients, but really it's to like get other builders that we work with and other architects who are working in our city to understand what's involved, so that maybe a little bit of the fear is removed.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I love that you guys are working on this. I love that you're putting your own time, energy, and money behind coming up with a solution behind it. I think everybody needs to realize that as well. Let's bring Louise on, and let's have Louise just say hi for a moment, and then we're going to wrap this up right here. So, Louise, you're muted, but outside of that, what do you think of today's show?
Amazing. As I mentioned before in my introduction, Lori's a pioneer, though. She just showed to you, what she's doing, and that's the work that she does. It's amazing. And I was really happy to be here and listen to this. And Lori, I put in the chat, like the private chat here, your series should go to Netflix. We have to make this as broad as we can.
Well, we
We
can
have
see
to
what
make
we can
people
do about that. I'm
understand.
going to need a bigger budget.
No, we just send the idea. They pay you for it. That's how it goes.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
I mean, is Nick involved in this one?
He's not actually.
Okay. Well, that means he's got more time. So, Nick, if you're listening, reach out to Netflix. You're good at grabbing attention, right? So, come on, Nick. Let's bring
Nick
in
is
Netflix.
very charismatic. He I was kind of like my energy sprung for many years before. Like it was Nick that got us like kind of up and away.
We all need a Nick. I think Nova Scotia is going to help put that on the map. I like what you're doing in the other provinces there. Dave, I think this is the time where we say, when are you coming back, Lorrie?
Happy, obviously. You can't get me to shut up. So,
well, when are you coming back live from your new place?
Yeah.
All right. So sometime this fall, I'll keep you guys posted. I'll happily give you a little tour, maybe.
Are you heading out east at all, Luis? I know you're in BC now, right?
Yes, sir. I'm in BC, but whenever Lori's having the open house, I'll definitely be there. Just let me know, Lori. I'll definitely be there, and we can broadcast the whole thing.
And so, like one of the things, like we've been having Passive House Pulse, or I've been hosting Passive House Pulse, and we had one in the empty building, like in the gutted building a few weeks ago. And like, definitely motivated to share it with people. So,
Dave, when are you heading to Nova Scotia? I know you just made it to PGH, but maybe it's time for another road trip.
Yeah, I love road trips. I mean, we're heading to Switzerland in a few weeks, but I think it would be a lot of fun to come up there and maybe document this with you, and add some of this to our BS Friday channel. I think it would be a really, really great thing. Siga helping you out up there?
Actually, we're using a lot of 475 stuff. Sorry, Siga.
Well, that was Sean, but they do great stuff too. 475.
And like honestly, September is a lovely time to come here.
I bet.
I'll keep that in mind.
So
yeah, we will.
I want to say, Luis, the intro was wonderful. Surprised to have you do it. Continued success to you and the team at Passive House Canada. If you're not connected to Luis, this is your chance. He's all over with events and education and supports to communities. And Lorrie, today was magical. It was like a gazillion times better than our pre-show, and our pre-show was the tops. I'm so happy that the documentation of 1850s is coming to 2022 and beyond. It's a prime example of what our marketplace needs. Thank you for your work.
You're welcome. Thanks for letting me share.
Yeah, we appreciate you. And Louise, thank you again for coming on. Mark, as always, awesome show. I saw you did another shirt change. We didn't talk about it. What is that shirt?
So she was talking about the island that she works on. Our buddy Aaron from Big Dog, he does the work on Grand Manan. So and Dave is taking off to Switzerland with him, and Gina and Jennifer coming up. So we're going to get a lot of Instagram stuff. Follow all these folks, and we'll see you next week for Midwest Building Science Symposium kickoff, and the week after for these folks at FIA. Thank you, Lorrie, Luis, Dave. You're awesome. We're having coffee tomorrow.
We're going to have coffee tomorrow. Yes, sir. Bright and early, 9 a.m. Eastern time. Join us for sure. So appreciate it, Mark. And also, everybody, make sure you join us Monday. We got Brian Sayers coming on the show. That's right. Brian Sayers is going to be talking about innovation and technology moving forward. He's also part of the new builds team out of the Carolinas. But we are not talking about builds. We're talking about the future of construction, the future of modular, and he's one of the best minds in the industry for it. So super excited about that. Mark, love you, man. Lorrie, Louise, thank you so much. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful Friday. And join us tomorrow on BS Friday. Say hello to us. Jump into the comments there.
You mean coffee with Dave.
Oh, did I say BS Friday? Join us tomorrow for coffee with Dave. It might be an espresso. I did an espresso with Dave last week because I only had a few minutes. So when I say espresso with Dave, you know it's going to be a quick show.
All right. Lorrie, we'll stay tuned. We'll keep you here for after the outro to catch up. Luis, hang tight, and everyone have a blessed Friday.
Yeah. All right, everybody. We'll see you. Thanks for joining. Bye now.
Bye, guys.
Bye.